Okay. आपको स्क्रीन शेयर करना पड़ेगा. Okay. So in this session, our focus will be on, as you have already installed, I can say like you have Git, Node.js, all things installed. We'll skip this and go to next. So first, what we'll be doing is we'll be creating a project in GitHub. We'll be cloning that to our local system. Next, we'll create a project there. We'll run it, and then we will push it to the GitHub. Okay, running project with a small change. Next, we should deploy that in render. Okay, once this is deployed, it is CI/CD, means any change you make to your GitHub, it will automatically reflect to the render. Fine. Next, what we will be doing is we'll be looking into the high level design of the project, like block level diagram, like what changes you have to do, where you have to do those changes. And I'll give you a small task. You have to do that change, push to GitHub, and that should reflect in the render. This will be one small task. Once this is done, we'll go to JavaScript. As React and Node.js, we are going to write code in JavaScript. So we must know some basics of JavaScript. So we'll go through the basics of JavaScript. The article is also available in Mentorpick for this. Once this is done, we will go to the basics of React. Okay. And once React is done, actually we are going to build a URL shortener application. So let me quickly show you this. Okay, it will take some time to come up, but we are going to build a URL shortener app where basically you give a long URL, you get back a tiny URL, which you can share among whoever is required to use it. And if they open the tiny URL, it will redirect to the original URL. So you don't have to remember every time the long URL. That is the application we want to build. So once we are familiar with the React basics, then we'll jump and implement the profile page in the React and a URL shortener in a page in the React, which will basically help you to shorten the URL. So up to here, our front end part will be done. Then we'll jump to authentication, how authentication is working. So I'll take you in depth in the authentication part, like how we are going to use Auth2, which is a Google login, as well as we'll use JWT, JSON Web Token, for authentication. So we'll go in detail about that. So authentication front end both are done. Now we'll jump into basics of backend, which is in Node.js, where there are few things like you must learn how to write APIs, how to do CRUD operation on the DB. Once this is familiar, we'll actually write the APIs, which will be used by frontend for shortening the URL or getting the history page or getting your profile detail, those things. When we are going through this project, once we achieve one step, we'll be pushing it to GitHub, and that changes should start reflecting in the render. So this is in short about what we are going to do in this session. Okay. So for now, I'm closing this, and let's start by, okay, this is the app I was talking about. We are going to build this app where you have a profile page, then you have a shortened URL page where basically you can give a long URL and it in return will give you a short URL. Okay. Also, authentication is implemented here. So we can log in with Google. Right. So if you go to profile page, this is the page we have to build. If you go to shorten URL, here you can give long URL and it will give you back the short URL. And there is my URLs history page, basically all the URLs you have created, short URLs you have created. You can also update it. So we'll be seeing here uh, how we use APIs to update, delete all the things. Okay, so let me close this for now. Okay, so we are going to start by creating a project. So with me, you also have to do this. Go to your GitHub. In GitHub, your repository, here you'll see a new button, which will basically help you to create a new project. Okay, so we'll type here. You can give any name, but let's keep it specific to URL shortener. So something similar to URL shortener, you can give a name. Let's for now keep it public. Okay, we'll add a git ignore file here. So in git ignore, as we are going to build a Node.js application, so here we'll be searching for Node. Okay. License for now we'll ignore. README also, it's up to you if you want it or you can get rid it of. So right now I'm not creating anything and just keeping .ignore file where I have selected Node. I'll tell you why it is asking you like Node or choose something from the options. So I click on create repository and it created one repository, right? So far if I say what I have done is created a Git repository. Can you tell me if I have to clone this repository to my local system, what is the command we'll be running? Git clone and the link. If SSH is set, let's say if SSH is set, then we'll be taking SSH. If you are using HTTPS, then you'll be using this link. So in my laptop, SSH is set, so I'll be picking this. Now let's come to our local system, and as we discussed, the command is going to be git clone and the URL you just copied. Am I right? So I'll come to my local system. Let me open the terminal and here wherever I want to create the project, I'll first change my directory to that place. And here I'm going to run that command. So as we discussed, git clone this. So it has cloned a project, right? So let me just move to that project. So next what we'll be doing is move once we clone this, change your directory to the project. For me, it is something like this. And we'll open in one of the editor, text editor. It can be Sublime, it can be Visual Studio Code, but we need one where will be basically, it will be easy to write the code or edit it, right? So everyone is able to clone up to here. Okay. Now let's get back. Look at it carefully. I'm moving back to the root directory. Okay, I'm in root directory right now. If I write pwd present working directory, you can see this is same as the GitHub project I created. So everything is inside this. And right now we have only one file, git ignore, right? Okay. Now, just quickly check by writing npm minus minus version. Does it gives you some version? Yes. Okay. So next command we are going to run is there. Okay. Before I jump to this, let me just tell you about npm. npm is a node package manager, which is a vast library of node.js. So you don't write everything by yourself. There are many libraries which has been written in the best way with using best practices to do the stuff which you want to do. Like let's say you want to uh, print something with some color. So let's say there is a library called as chalk. So if you just write npm chalk, it will give you the detail about that. So you can just take this library and then you will be you can use it in your project, right? Similar to this, we have created one npm package. This is going to have a front end and back end in it. So let's put this in our project. So there is a command here. Don't run the complete command, only run up to here. npx create bz1 app at the rate latest. Okay, so there are many versions. If we say at the rate latest, it is going to deploy the, sorry, it is going to give you the latest version of the code for this. So we are in root directory. Here we are going to simply run this command, which is npm create bz1 app latest. Okay, for me, I need to run it with sudo. Right. So it gives me some command saying that next step is to npm run dev. But before that, it says me update the environment variable and you are ready to run your project. So before I run this npm run dev, actually I should update my environment variables. Okay. So now if I go back to the Visual Studio Code, here you see once I run this command. So let me also capture this command which I have just run. This is the command I have run. Okay, once I run this, so I have got front end, back end, some folders over here. Am I right? Here, if we go to the terminal, it says update the environment variable and you are ready to run the project. So I have placed the environment variable over here. Let me just quickly give you access to this. Yes. So uh, we have to update the environment variable in this .env files. There are two .env files. Yeah, so we'll be taking this front end variables and back end environment variable and we'll replace this. So I've replaced for the front end. I'll also replace it for the back end. Okay. One change I want you all to do is in backend env, there is MongoDB URI, right? Here at last, you place a slash and write your own name. So it will create a database with your name. Okay. So everyone should have an individual database. So I am writing Kaushik. You all write your own name over there. Right? All good? Okay. Fine. So the command, if you see here, which we had to run after updating the environment variable is npm run def. So next is update the env variables in backend and frontend. This is the step we followed. I have given you the env variables. Next command we have to run is npm run dev. Try it and tell me if it is running. It may take some time to install some dependencies. Okay, my bad. I always have to run with sudo. Okay, it gives me some error saying that MongoDB connection in error invalid schema. Let me without. Okay, I got it. So there is a permission issue. Actually, I was not able to save that file. So let me quickly. You will not get this error. Yeah, so it's up and running in 3000 and successful. So is it running for you all also? Yes. So let's go to localhost 3000 where this is running. And here you can see that this page is coming up, right? Now, as I told you, uh, next step for us would be to pushing this to GitHub and deploy it to render, right? So let's go back to the Visual Studio Code here. And here, basically what we have to do is whatever change we have made, we have to commit it and push it to our GitHub, right? So here it is showing there are 42 files which are changed. But one thing I want you all to look into is there is a folder called as node module and .env. These files we don't want to push into GitHub. That is the reason I have kept it in .ignore. You can find it here somewhere written .env and also node module. So it is ignored from Git, right? Okay. To push it, can you tell me what should I write it over here? I should write a meaningful message, right? Like created React and Node.js project, right? So here I'm going to, there are many options you can see: commit and push, commit and sync. So I am choosing commit and push. So all the changes I have done should be committed and pushed to my GitHub, right? So once this is done, how can I verify it is pushed or not? You can see the color has changed from green to back to the black. Also, I can go back to my repository and just check over here. Do I have all the changes I have made? So all are following up to here. Great. Now next, if you have any question, you can ask, or next we'll be moving to deploy it. Okay. So let's go to render, and this is the place where we are going to deploy it. So you will see an option to sign in with a GitHub. So choose GitHub to sign in and use the same account which you have basically created the project. Or you can use Google to sign in and later on connect to GitHub. It's either way, but better would be if you choose GitHub to sign in. Okay, so let me do one thing now. Here, what I'll be doing is, here add new is the button. So I'll have signed in. Yeah. There we are going to choose a web service because we are going to build a web application, right? Here you can see that there is Git provider, public Git repository, existing image, right? Because I have logged in with GitHub, this render is connected to my GitHub. It is showing me all the repositories which I have in my GitHub. The one which I need to deploy, I'll be choosing that. So URL shortener dev is the one I want to deploy. You choose the one which you have created. Got it? So once you choose this, there'll be few things which we'll have to set up here for the first time only. That is, what is the build command, what is the start command, what is the environment variables. Like when we created a project, what was our first step? To update the environment variables, right? You then ran the command npm run dev. So we need to tell those things to render, right? So in build, what we are going to do is, we'll say cd will move to front end. We'll say from root directory, move to front end, and npm I. This will install the dependencies, means all the libraries which we are using in our project. After this, what we will do is we'll go back to the backend, like we'll go back to the root directory. From there, we'll go to backend. Okay. And we'll say in backend also install all the dependencies. Right. So if we look at our project structure, we have backend and frontend. What I'm saying is from root, go to frontend, run npm I so that it installs all the dependency. Come back to the root, again go to frontend and say npm I. So this will install all the dependency, right? But one additional thing we have to do here is we have to build our front end, which will be served by backend. I'll be going in detail about that. For now, here after npm I in the front end, I'm adding one more command, which is npm run build. So once again, I'm repeating this command, cd front end and npm I and npm run build. This is for the front end. Next, we'll be going to backend and we'll sing npm I. This is our build command. To run this project, we'll be simply saying npm start. So this is our start command. Let me capture these things over here. Create or log into render with GitHub, where your where you have created your repo. The new web service. And here, this is going to be a build command. And next is our run command or a start command, you can say, basically either of them. So this is npm start. How these commands are working, I'll tell you, but do up to here. Next, what you have to do is you have to choose the free tier here. Choose free tier. Or if you want to upgrade, you can upgrade it later on. Now, we have to give the environment variable. Here, we just have to give an environment variable of the backend. Okay, not of the front end. Fine. So one thing I'll be doing here is uh, I'll be picking this backend environment variables from here. You can manually add it one by one. There is sort way you paste all of them, it will automatically split it. Okay. I don't need the port. Okay, it will choose the port by itself. So I'm just deleting this port. Other things in MongoDB URI, as I have told you, last you should give your name, whatever you gave over there, right? And we'll deploy this web service now. Yeah, so we were deploying this. So once we add this env variables of the backend, we are going to say deploy web services. So this is the URL. Here you can see you will be able to access your application in, right? It may take some time because it will run, it is going to install all the dependencies, and then it is going to uh, run, build all the things. So, okay, meanwhile, we can go ahead with our next steps, right? Okay, so next step in our session is to understand the high level diagram of this project. So I'm going back to our project, and here let's see like what uh, what things are there in which places. Okay, so let me share my screen from iPad. Yeah, so current directory which we have is, you have your project, let's say it's my project, and here there are two folders. One is front end and another one is back end. Am I right? There is git ignore and other also, but okay. So in front end, what we have is React, right? And in backend, what we have is Node.js plus Express plus MongoDB. We can keep the MongoDB separate also. Can say database. So we will be using this database in the backend. It's not there in backend, but we'll be using it, right? So let's visualize this and have a clear understanding about this project. So I'll be drawing a block label diagram. Let's say we have a React, which is a front end React app. This you can call as front end. Sometimes we call it as a client also, because this is something which will be running in the client's machine. Okay. Now we must understand about servers. There are two types of servers. One is called as web server. Another one is called as API server. Can you tell me the difference? Like, what does API server do? API server will be giving you data from DB to the client. Correct. So API servers are always meant to deliver data. What about web servers? This delivers web pages, like HTML pages, you can say. This delivers data. Okay. So in backend, we are using a server called as Express, which will be doing both of this stuff. It will be delivering pages as well as data. Now the thing here is data is not in the backend, it is in the DB, right? So API server is or will be taking or communicating with a DB. So we are using MongoDB now. There'll be few more things over here which will be coming into picture, but for now at high level, let's understand that API server will be communicating with MongoDB to get the data and giving the data. But from where will web server be getting the pages, right? So I kept one command called as npm run build, right? So that creates a dist file, which is a minified version of a whole React application. So web services or this server, which is basically a express server, will be delivering your pages from a dist file, which is in the React. Got it? So front end, which is a client, will be making an API call to the backend. This can be of different types, like it can be get, post, put, all the things. Now there are two types of servers in the backend. Actually, there are two types, but for us, there is only one server express which is doing these things, right? So this is running on client machine. This is running on the server. In server, we have express server, which will be delivering web pages from the dist file, and API server will be delivering all the data from the MongoDB, right? This is our overview of React and Node.js project. We'll come back and discuss this diagram once again when we discuss about authentication, right? So for now, let me just stop this sharing and go back. Okay, I get some error here. पहले था मैंने npm स्टार दिया था लेकिन वो json में डिफाइन नहीं। Okay, my bad. I'll make a small change here. So I said npm start, right? But I'm running a backend, so I should not say npm start. I should say cd backend and npm start, because I'm running a backend in our server, right? So save this change and I'll run this once again. So let me just update this. Okay, so far we are good with deploying it. Next, we are good at high level overview of the diagram. Now let's walk through the code, and I'll give you a small task which you will be doing, and that should be deployed. Okay. So let me just quickly see if this is deployed. Okay, it's running. Meanwhile, I'll give you the overview of the project. So I've already told you in the diagrams. Let me once again tell you about the project and where we'll be making actual changes. Okay. So in front end, there is a file called as dist. I told you about this dist file. Whatever code you write in front end, when you run a command called as npm run build, it is going to make a minified version of the whole React app, which will be placed in dist. And this dist backend will be utilizing to serve the pages. But we are not going to touch anything on the dist. We'll be actually making changes in the source file where we'll be writing all the pages, components, all the things. So when I tell you about React, I'll also tell you like how we'll be creating the structures and writing it over here. Just to make you understand, app.jsx is the main file, is the main file where you will be basically the execution starts, and here you will have to basically add components and all the stuff. Okay. You can correlate it with something like if you run a Java application, then the main function runs first. So app.jsx is something which will run first here. Now every JavaScript project has this file called as package.json. Okay. What is there in the package.json? There are some scripts which basically you can run. Like I told you, npm run build. So if I say npm run build, this is the line which will be running. If I say npm run dev, then wit is something which will be running. If I say npm run preview, this is the command which will be running. So this is about the script part. There is little detail about the project, like what is the name of the project, what is the main file, what is the version, those things. Most important is the dependencies. I ran this command several times, npm I. What it does, it installed all the dependencies. So I can show you very quickly. Let me delete this node modules from here, which is the actual code of these dependencies. Like these are the libraries. When you say npm I, it actually brings the actual code of these all dependency. So what I can do is I can just move to the front end, and I'll say npm I, and you will be surprised to see that node module came back, right? So you can delete the node module, and as you can see, I have put it in .gitignore because it is a heavy file. We know we can generate it back, so why to keep it in the git, right? Whenever we need, we can run npm I and get it. Same thing follows in the backend also. In backend also you have a package.json. In backend also you have node module. So in package.json, again, project details, script, and dependencies, right? Where we have to make our changes, there are two places where we'll be making changes. Start file for backend is your app.js, which is already mentioned here. So when you run your backend, this is the file which will be running. And from here, we have to somehow import the things or start writing the code. Similar to that in front end, I told you it is app.jsx inside the source. So this is a small walkthrough of the code. I hope by now my application would have been deployed. So MongoDB connected successfully, which is a good sign. So let me just copy this, try to open. You can see it's up and running, right? Is it running for you both also? Yes, great. So It's running for everyone. It's a very good thing. What I want you to do is by yourself, you see here something written as being zero. If I have to change it to my name, think and tell me.